That night could well have matched or exceeded and become the worst day and the greatest loss of life in Victoria Police's history.
I've been shot behind. My sergeant's been shot at least 3 times. Please get that ambulance in a hurry.
Max was different to any other criminal we'd ever come up against. He was clinical, he was ruthless, and he was prepared to kill.
The gunman began a game of cat and mouse, seemingly intent on picking them off.
There was no two minds about this. We were on our way to a gun battle.
It's a night seared into the minds of police forces across the country. A lone gunman opens fire on 5 police officers in a series of brutal, cold-blooded and unprovoked attacks, and the gunman is on the loose. The months to come would see one of the biggest manhunts in the state's history, ending in another shootout with police.
So basically there's 2 rules in a gunfight. Rule 1 is have a gun. Rule 2 is have the biggest gun.
Shocking night.
Boring old night.
It was going to be a long night for Sergeant Brian Stuke and Senior Constable Peter Steele. They were watching and waiting for a factory burglar to strike again.
It's about that time for a coffee, isn't it?
It was in the middle of winter, it was cold, and we rugged up. Prior to each shift, we'd buy a little supply of nibbles to eat on during the night and occupy ourselves that way and virtually just sit and wait.
Don't spill it on yourself.
A few hours into the shift, they had company.
I'll be right.
Just prior to midnight, a yellow Cortina just cruised into Viking Court, drove very slowly around and turned around at the end.
Looks a bit sus.
Very sus.
With suspicions aroused, the police set off after the car. They wanted to know what the driver was doing in the area. The driver stopped and seemed cooperative.
Well, Sergeant Stuke and Senior Constable Steele did a very good job in their initial intercept. They very professionally conducted themselves, where they actually asked the offender who he was. He advised them who he was. He then produced his licence to drive a motor car.
Police did a routine registration check on the car.
BAR 762.
Registered to prisoner Max, surname of Clark, 16, Christopher Court, South Payton, received. Roger, thank you.
Can I ask you to step out of the car, please, sir?
His driver's licence had the name Max Clark.
But police had no idea of the background of the man they had stopped.
Can I ask you to open the boot of your car, please?
The burglar they were hunting was breaking into factories through the roof.
After a routine search of the car, we discovered in the boot of the car that there was a knotted rope, which again led to our suspicions that this fitted the MO of the person who was breaking into the factories.
Looks like we might have to take a drive back down to the police station, mate.
What happened next was the last thing Brian Stuke expected.
He broke away. Instinctively, I chased.
But the chase didn't last long. Max Clark stopped, turned, and pointed a gun at him.
It was just totally unexpected. It was frightening disbelief. He fired a shot, which knocked me to the ground. My partner had drawn his revolver, and he was shot through the shoulder, which threw his revolver to the ground. As I got towards the back of the police car and turned, that's when I was shot again. I was lying there. I couldn't move to access the gun that I had, so I was just lying there, just sort of open to whatever might happen next. And unfortunately, that was to be shot twice more while I was lying on the road.
Despite shooting 2 police officers, Max calmly got back in his car and headed for home, knowing police had his address and would soon be on his tail.
He'd gone there to tool up and pick up extra weapons, which he did. And he got into a green Ford Fairlane, which was one of his vehicles. He took off, and that kicked off a police chase, a high-speed chase.
I was in the car with Sergeant Ray Kirkwood. And the pursuit continued down Heatherton Road. We joined in behind.
Just absolutely screaming down the road. He was going that hard, he blew the engine up in this thing.
With his car out of action, Max was on foot. Graham Sace and Ray Kirkwood had him in their sights.
Because I recall thinking that I needed to get out of the vehicle and there'd be some type of foot pursuit.
All right, we got him here. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm all right. But instead, he turns and he runs straight at the police car.
Get down! Get down!
Helicopters over the top. It was very bright, very loud, and he drops down, double-handed combat stance with a revolver, and our eyes met and locked. He really only has to reach through the broken window to effectively execute me. And the reaction is to get down in as much as I can into the footwell of the vehicle and put the revolver in my left hand and just hold it above my head in his general direction and fire to repel what I thought was going to be an inevitable execution at that point. He then walks around the front of the vehicle and fires before fleeing. And unfortunately, 2 of those rounds struck Ray.
Police had no idea why this hail of bullets had been unleashed.
He knew what he was doing, this bloke with a handgun. He must have had some sort of formal training, and that he consistently engaged the police effectively. His bullets were hitting the police. He wasn't getting hit himself. He was at large with a large number of firearms, to our knowledge, and a large amount of ammo. We didn't know where he was.
But they were soon to learn who they were dealing with. Max Clark was actually Pavel Marinov, a Bulgarian army deserter and military weapons expert. He would soon be dubbed Mad Max, for good reason. His night of terror was not over yet. In fact, his one-man war against police would not end before a final violent shootout. A shooting rampage in a single night by a lone gunman tagged as Mad Max has left 3 police seriously wounded. Graham Sace huddled with his partner in the footwell of a police car while under fire. He can't believe he's still alive.
I'll never forget that moment. Marinoff dropping down beside the car, the noise, the light, the look, the muzzle flash. Yeah, I remember in a later interview, Ray Kirkwood, I thought, described it brilliantly when he said, "I've learnt that 2 coppers can't fit in an ashtray."
But the rampage is not over. The gunman is still on the loose and believed to be on foot.
So basically we were getting panic descriptions of what was going on, who, what, when, where, how. Primary objective at this stage was to contain the offender and minimise the risk to the public.
Good boy. Track.
The dog squad is called in to try to track the shooter.
Sergeant Gary Morrell and police dog Digger turn up to the scene in company with a team of SOG troopers.
Everyone's on edge when a criminal's out at large and shooting at police. Anyone that gets in Mad Max's way is obviously the enemy.
What Gary Morrell doesn't know is he's walking into an ambush. Mad Max is taking aim from a rooftop.
He had no regard for his own safety. Him and his dog were in there tracking down this armed man who just shot a number of police and was still at large in that area. Showed a hell of a lot of courage and ultimately almost cost him his life.
I felt a whack to my chest and I fell to the ground. I was thinking this is not a good situation. I was lucky to survive that shooting. Bulletproof vest no doubt saved my life at the time.
He shot Gary Morrell. There was no need to. He'd made his escape, but he lay in waiting for the dog handler and his dog to come through and then shot them.
In my knowledge, it's unprecedented. We're talking quite a remarkable chain of events here. 3 gun battles in a period of a very short time. On each occasion, he comes out victorious.
Stunned police sealed off a large area of Noble Park as the gunman began a game of cat and mouse, seemingly intent on picking them off. Deputy Commissioner Eric Miller says there appears to be no motive for the shootings.
He's demonstrated he's a madman.
Police were back out on the streets in a search that appears no closer to finding the gunman than when it first began.
You got to picture this. Major Crime Squad guys are turning up there at sort of 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, all that standard Major Crime Squad detective, hairy-chested stuff.
When I did get to the scene, he was still on the loose and there were just police everywhere.
Using every resource at their disposal, police were confident it was only a matter of time before they found their man.
This evening, an extra 30 men were swung into the operation, and that brings to 130 the number of those involved in this manhunt.
As day gave way to darkness, the local community was living in fear.
Everyone in our family is really scared.
For all I know, he could be in the shed at the back of our house.
A lot of the residents, especially my girlfriend, she's pretty scared.
Will you be going out tonight?
No. I lock all the door.
A full contingent of uniformed Special Operations Group and Dog Squad officers remain on full-time alert, and the police helicopter is almost constantly in the air.
As far as I can remember, there was some kind of a sighting just off of Springvale Road in one of the roads that connected to very close to the primary school. Police helicopter that was going around the whole day suddenly shone its searchlight on me, and as an 8-year-old I just thought, this guy's right behind me, and I needed to run, so I ran as fast as my little legs could go and jumped over the fence and hammered on the door so that my brother or my dad would open up for me and let me in.
The search has become a frustrating saga for more than 100 policemen on a round-the-clock watch. They are still convinced the fugitive is hiding out in the area.
Police are gearing up for another night of waiting and hoping. They're convinced the man is still in the area, and as a result, there is no sign of any sort of wind down to the search. They have issued a special warning to people living in the area that they should be careful over the weekend if the search does continue.
Police feared if they didn't catch Mad Max soon, there would be more bloodshed to come. In just one night, he had shot and wounded 4 police in 3 separate gun battles.
He was just just an evil person.
This is a man who initially shot 2 policemen to avoid apprehension for minor burglary, and that speaks volumes.
He's got no prior convictions, he's got no prior police history. It's quite a daunting prospect, thinking, well, you know, what sort of person are we dealing with here?
But police were beginning to build a profile of the man they were hunting.
Mad Max was born Pavel Marinov. He came to Australia in 1969 from Bulgaria. He immigrated to Australia. When he arrived here, apparently he changed his name to Max Clark, as we know him.
According to police, this is not the first time the man has been on the run. He fled the army in his native Bulgaria nearly 20 years ago and hid out in Turkey for 2 years before migrating to Australia in 1969.
The gunman is alleged to have lived at this house in South Clayton. Police have found evidence in the garage that he tested firearms. Neighbours say they heard shots fired in the past but didn't worry about it.
In fact, when police raided Clark's home soon after the shootings, they found a frightening display of weaponry, including a submachine gun, multiple high-powered handguns, shotguns, and even homemade silencers. There were also 7,000 rounds of ammunition.
Look, you can teach a monkey how to use a handgun. They're not a particularly difficult weapon to use, but to use efficiently and effectively in a combat situation, it takes a hell of a lot of practice and skill to be able to do it.
I think Marinoff demonstrated a total disregard for life. And he was a psychopathic criminal. He had a focus and a fixation of firearms.
He worked in the factory area of where the actual incident happened in June 1985 as a fitter and turner. And whilst he was there, he was actually making guns on a lathe in the factory that he was working at.
With the .45 that he shot Sergeant Stuke with, he'd actually drilled the projectiles out with a drill, which made them a more effective weapon against humans. You know, damage more flesh, damage more tissue, more likely to cause death and bleeding. You've got an armed offender who's prepared to fire bullets without even batting an eyelid, and we didn't know where he was.
Come home, Daddy. Come on, Daddy. We love you. We love you.
4-year-old Sandra said it all. She misses her father, she wants him home. So do the rest of the family, who'd rather see him in jail than on the run.
He was the average Mr. Smith that had a wife, 2 adopted children at that stage. He was, from all intents and purposes, a hard-working individual.
He's very quiet. He keeps to himself. He adored his family.
The way he was described to us by the people that knew him, as in friends and associates, was a good workmate, a very nice family man, normal in every aspect of his life.
He was obviously a very fit individual who used rope and climbed or gained access to the factories through skylights and lowered himself down by knotted rope, and it made his escape. Yet at the same time, this individual, when he did commit the burglaries, was more like a bowerbird. I mean, when his premises was searched, there was 20 and 30 little pocket calculators, incidental minor items that were stolen. It was only the petty cash which contained anything up between $20 and $50. It was only the petty cash which contained anything up between $20 and $50.
On day 5 of the search, police discovered an unoccupied local flat had been broken into. There was a chance Mad Max was hiding there.
The unit had been searched and found empty. However, police say they have strong cause to believe that the gunman was there at some stage and may have used the roof of the flat as a hideout.
This guy could live on the smell of an oily rag. He's holed up in a roof of a house with no food or water for 3 days, avoiding the police. Shows you the mindset of the bloke.
Police say they have strong evidence to suggest that the gunman is still in the area and may be receiving help. For that reason, they have no immediate plans of scaling down this search.
In In the case of ordinary civilians that were non-criminals, I think it may have been a misguided sense of loyalty. You've got to understand this guy had a fairly good network of friends throughout, say, Romanian, Bulgarian, Serbian communities in that part of Melbourne. Some of these people clearly didn't know what he was capable of.
So now a police officer fluent in Yugoslav and Macedonian is handling the case. Detective Sergeant John Kaptanovsky believes members of Clark's family and others who've been questioned are withholding vital information. He's hoping the language barrier problem in the community is what's delaying progress in the case.
If they hold any fears or if they're frightened in relation to the language barrier, that I'm available to speak to them in the Macedonian dialect mainly. I can also understand Yugoslav.
But as the days ticked by with no new information, police had to face the fact the gunman had slipped through their net.
The final crunch came at the weekend when the information flow simply stopped.
It just dried up.
No calls at all?
From last Saturday, there hadn't been any calls received at all over the weekend.
He was a potential killer on the run, and no one was safe.
We turned the underworld pretty well upside down and shook it, looking for Mad Max. These are full-on raids. There's no knocking on doors here. There's just sledgehammers through doors, window reamers, door rammers. We upset a lot of bad guys, but in the same breath, we probably upset a few innocent people as well.
There's been growing criticism over the handling of the case, both from within the police force and outside, where many homes have been raided. One raid led to a woman being seriously injured after jumping from her bedroom window.
All of a sudden, a window opens and this figure in a pink nightie flies out the window.
And I'm thinking, Alex, don't pull the trigger, because he's... right.
George Haitley and I actually follow it to the ground, which is basically what we identify that it's actually a female in her nightie that's come out the window.
She came from an Eastern European background, and the police in those countries at that time were renowned for their forcefulness and probably violence. And her best option, I suppose, at the time was to get out the window. Unfortunately for her, it was quite a dangerous option, being on the first level of the house.
The raids didn't find Mad Max, but they did shake loose some leads.
We were getting all sorts of information coming in. One of those bits of information was the report of a blonde woman being seen with a person looking like Mad Max in the Narberthong area. We later discovered that that person was his girlfriend, a married woman by the name of Margaret Dersman.
41-year-old Margaret Dersimid appeared in court today charged with 4 counts of being an accessory after the fact to attempted murder. Police allege that Dersimid gave gunman Max Clark sanctuary.
Margaret Dersimid was absolutely staunch. She was a supporter of Mad Max and she was totally loyal to him. She was rock solid. She's a full-on crook. The only way that you could know she was in the room was the fact that she was breathing. Wouldn't even give us the time of day.
Senior Detective Alexander Krestik strongly opposed bail. He said that Dersimid had helped Clark while fully aware that he was responsible for the shootings.
Police later tracked down the movements of Mad Max and Dersimid while they were on the run.
We now know that he'd actually gone into the bush with various tracks and other logging coops in the area. And he'd gone to some of these logging coops and actually practiced with his weapons. So he was keeping his skills pretty well toned up while he was on the run.
But almost 3 months after the night of rampage by Mad Max, the investigation stalled.
The situation was that the investigation had pretty well ground to a halt, and this guy was still at large. So a representation was made to government by the crime department or by the police force, was to post a reward for any information leading to the apprehension of Mad Max.
The Victorian government came out with a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Clark.
Police were convinced Max was being harboured by criminals and the reward would tip the scales in their favour.
But most informers that are usually worth worth their weight are other crooks. Basically, crooks telling on crooks.
And the police were right.
When that $50,000 reward was posted by the government, information came through as to the location of the offender.
And the information being that Max Clark was living in Wallen and heavily disguised with a reddish wig on and a matching beard.
Wallen is a sleepy country settlement 45 kilometres north of Melbourne. It was also a base for a notorious bikie gang.
The reason that Clark, in hindsight, went to Wallen was as a result of the criminal element that was in support of him.
Been much work? Well, you know, it's a high-profile motorcycle club. They're pretty handy in that sort of thing. There's no secret, you know, it's organised crime, drugs, guns, whatever you like. So he was actively arming himself and preparing himself for further confrontations whilst he was living there.
Despite the tip-off, police had to be cautious. They were looking for a man who had no qualms about shooting, particularly at police.
So it was decided that there would be a reconnaissance operation conducted. We could only see very small parts of the house in the course of that reconnaissance. So we had to sweat it out, basically, and just identify people as they came and went.
But then a man they suspected was Mad Max was on the move. A decision had to be made quickly. There was a chance Mad Max could slip through the net again.
And I don't think that there was much doubt that it was always going to end up in some type of violent confrontation.
Eight months after shooting 4 police officers, Mad Max is still on the run. A reward of $50,000 gives police their first big break. An informer points them to the little town of Wallen just north of Melbourne. The stage is now set for a violent showdown. Police set up an observation post near the house they've been told Max is living in.
There was one particular individual, orange or reddy hair, with a beard, dark skin, and was wearing unremarkable clothing, that was coming and going from the house in a white Ford panel van.
As the suspect was wearing a wig and a beard, police weren't sure of his identity.
We're told that Marinoff was in fact driving a Queensland registered Ford panel van, and in the backyard of the premises that we had under surveillance at that time was indeed a white Ford panel van.
That vehicle was parked at the front of the house at one stage, but we couldn't see the registration number. So I radioed to Kapitnowski and McDonald, whose turn it was at that stage to be in the support vehicle, to see if they could get into a position where they could get that registration number so we could run it through the old vehicle check and identify who the owner was.
But suddenly the van is on the move, heading out of town. Police still don't know if it's their man, but they have only minutes to make their move or risk losing him again.
We couldn't wait for reinforcements to come and assist us. And seeing that he was heading back into Melbourne, we weren't a surveillance unit as such. The chances were that he could quite easily disappear in the crowd. So the decision was made to actually intercept him as soon as we could in the safest possible manner.
They've got their shotguns ready to go. Kapitnowski's on the driver's side, McDonald's on the passenger side.
As I was approaching the car from the safest possible angle, I could see that he was looking at me through the side mirror. The first shot hit me to the chest. At the same time, I raised my left hand, put it to my face, and you can see that the second bullet hit the base of the ring finger and the middle finger there, took the top of my finger off, and also grazed the top of my eyebrow.
McDonald, by that time, is on the passenger side of the vehicle. McDonald engages with his shotgun. The offender fires a number of rounds at McDonald, one of which hits him in the chest. The offender puts his car into drive. McDonald, at the same time, is firing at him with his shotgun and doing a tactical reload in the course of firing at him. Absolutely ballsy effort. He was shot in the chest, didn't bat an eyelid. You know, as far as he knew, he was mortally wounded.
As I saw the panel van driving off, I thought that he was successful again in shooting a further 2 police and making his escape good.
As the panel van disappears, no one knows if one of the police shotgun blasts has hit its target. For the 4th time in 8 months, police have been involved in a gun battle with a man they believe to be Mad Max. And once again, the gunman appears to have won out. But there's a chance the police shotgun has hit its target. With no radio reception, the 2 injured officers have to get to help fast.
That day I'll never forget when Rod McDonald knocked on my door.
Hello?
When I opened the door, there was a man with a red T-shirt marked with blood.
Can I use your phone, please?
Yes, straight through there, straight through there.
I opened the door wide, let him in, and I ran out the door, scared and frightened. And as I ran past the car, I saw there was a man in the car who didn't look quite right. And I saw that he had been shot.
You were right, love. Yeah. Your partner's just gone in to call an ambulance.
I couldn't start to express the excruciating pain that I was going through at that stage, because the first shot went in through the chest, followed into my shoulder, and the bone between the elbow and the shoulder was completely splintered. I looked down at my left hand, and the blood was just pouring out.
I said to the guy, would you like a glass of water? I had to actually give it to him myself to drink because he couldn't lift up his hand or his head or anything.
I think I was told later on that I'd lost something like 11 pints of blood, which is virtually the entire amount of blood. And in fact, I did die, so I was revived by the ambulance crew.
When the alarm was raised, my home was swarmed with police officers.
While the injured policemen were being treated, the hunt was still on for Mad Max. Police on the scene could see tyre tracks from the shooting site through a broken fence to a nearby paddock.
Police helicopter detected light-coloured panel van off the Hume Highway, north of Melbourne. The vehicle was approached by the Special Operations Group. Christic was there to identify the person in the panel van to see if he was actually Max Clark.
As we approached the panel van, we had no idea who was in it, what they were armed with, or what they were going to do. There was a good possibility that one of the most dangerous gunmen in the history of Victoria was laying there waiting for us. We could see, or that there was somebody slouched on the driver's seat. We gradually moved up very slowly, being very mindful of the fact that, you know, he may have just been like playing possum. You don't know. I reached and I felt for a pulse. There was no pulse present. And his wig was askew, so I thought to myself, I still don't know who this guy is. I actually grabbed the wig and lifted it off his head, and then bang. His face just came straight out of the photo. I said, that's Mad Max.
Max had been mortally wounded by one of the police shotgun blasts, had lost control of his car and ended up in the paddock where he died.
Today, their 8-month-long manhunt came to a violent conclusion. In the end, 6 policemen have been shot and wounded, one of them left a paraplegic, and 1 man was dead. The saga of Pavel Marinoff, alias Max Clark, dubbed by the media as Mad Max, was finally over.
These are events that there are life-changing events for all the people that are involved. And it was a situation that I could see that just had come to an end as far as the offender was concerned. But the legacy of the Mad Max episode will last forever in many minds.
I remember at times having times of uncontrolled crying where I just wanted this image to get out of my head. I was sick of seeing it all the time, seeing him staring at me, seeing the shot, the noise, the whole light and sound of the whole incident, and it took some time to gain control of that.
If he had been caught alive and jailed, he would probably be out and walking the streets within a number of years, and there would be the possibility that I would bump into him, and I did not know how I could cope with that. So it was certainly a great relief to me that he'd been shot and killed.
The 41-year-old father of 3 is the 3rd Victorian paraplegic policeman to resume duties this year.
Brian Stooks stayed in the police force until his retirement, determined Mad Max would not rob him of his ambition or his dignity.
I think Brian's a hero, and I know in the community he is thought of. He's been to school to speak to the children about what heroes are like and what heroes do. He's incredible, his patience and his acceptance is amazing. He never complains.
But for all involved in the Mad Max case, there are still many unanswered questions.
When Marinoff died on the 25th of February 1986, I, as an investigator, felt that I hadn't solved the crime completely. And by that I mean I wasn't afforded the opportunity to find out, to ask him firsthand why it was that he took the actions that he did back in June the previous year, why he snapped, why he took such brutal action against Brian Stooks and Peter Steele. It's something that I will never know. All I have is a constant reminder of the events that took place on the 25th of February 1986.